Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR. We've got a lot to talk about going on in the Big Ten. It's the basketball episode, and we have Kent with us tonight. Kent, casual Big Ten, how you doing?
That's me. That's me. And that is the name of my Twitter account that I run every single day. I'm doing fantastic, JR. Couldn't be more thrilled to be here and talk about college basketball. There's actually a lot going on in the Big Ten for
Oh,
college
yeah.
basketball. I'm very excited about this episode.
Me too, man. I think we're going to have a great episode. And if you're in the chat, please do share your thoughts with what we talk about. And we will, as always, put those on the screen. We'll especially need you here at the start because Russ is supposed to be coming, but his wife is not home yet. So he can't hop on and live stream college basketball, you know, funness with his buddies until his wife is home. So
That's the
uh,
best that box is going to look all night, though, right there, just with the empty hardwood floor behind it. That's the best it's gonna look, because once he gets on, it's all downhill for that box right there.
I should have put that picture in there that
Oh, the grumpy old man
Dylan,
picture.
yeah, that Dylan sent
Yeah.
me that one time, but I forgot to do that. So anyway, if you are here, thank you so much for being here. We do appreciate you watching. Kent, I think we got a lot to talk about, so we should just get straight into it.
Let's do it. Let's
All
do it. I
right.
think we have a lot to talk about too.
I think so. Jon Rothstein earlier this week, he released his Big Ten offseason breakdown. And of course, at the top of this Big Ten offseason breakdown, he has his Big Ten preseason power rankings. And I will say, I was pretty shocked by some of these. I kind of thought going into it, like, oh, yeah, he'll have Purdue and Indiana, UCLA up there, maybe Michigan State, Illinois. Long behold, there's three teams above Michigan State and Illinois, and some teams below them that I thought maybe you would have maybe above them, but the teams above them, I can honestly say I did not see coming. So, Kent, what are your thoughts here, man? Oh, let's start positive, okay? Are there any teams that are too low? Let's talk about the teams that are too low you think might be able to be higher.
Sure. I do have to start with a slight negative, though, if I could. I actually posted this quote tweet and basically did what you just did and listed the rankings in order of what John did in his article. It was more or less like a tweet to say, hey, I'm saving you guys a click here. This is what John said. Everybody got mad at me about the rankings. I didn't do this. This is John's rankings. And I get it, though. I do get it, because the day before I released my football predictions and people were already upset about that. So I think that they were just ready to pounce on me again. But that's fine. That's fine. I'll take it. On the positive note, you said you want me to tell you what team I think should be higher than to start.
Yeah, one team, two teams, however many you think.
Okay,
Since Russ isn't here, the time is all yours until Russ gets here.
that's perfect, because I do have two teams that I think are far too low, and I think that, going through the Twitter replies that even I got, or people talking about John's rankings in general, I think it was kind of a consensus between these two fan bases. It's got to be a fight between Rutgers at number 10 and Illinois at number 8. I think that
No, Illinois fans got upset about rankings.
you wouldn't believe it.
Never.
You wouldn't believe it. Oh man, I love it. By the way, I love
I love
Illinois.
I love Illinois fans. I
I
love
love them, and I put out. I did again. I did. I know this is the basketball show, but I did my football prediction, and I said that they were going to be like 2-10, and they were irate. I didn't know their football fans were that mad too, but I love them, especially for basketball this year. So I will say, for me personally, Illinois at number 8 is the most egregious, I think, because you start looking at the top, and I don't have a problem with the top 3 at all. I would probably go Purdue or Indiana at number 1 and 2. You can flip flop them if you want to, and then UCLA at 3 is how I have it right now. But I look at the rest of the conference, though. I have Illinois at 4th. And I don't know if anyone would put them lower than 5th right now. I mean, this is going to be a stacked roster. It's still Brad Underwood. They're going to be really, really good next year. I have a very strong sense that in the next few weeks, I'm going to put a future on them to win the conference, just because I think that they're that good. I think they could actually win the whole thing next year. But I do have to mention Rutgers, like I said, though, at number 10. Anytime you have two guys, two, not one, two, you have two guys that are going to be drafted in the top 5 next year. Okay. They cannot be a double digit prediction for any Big Ten rankings. They just can't. Even at 9, I'd be like, okay, you don't like them, but that's a little low. But like,
at least it's
I
single
would say
digits.
somewhere between 6 to 8.
Yeah, 10 does feel too low for Rutgers. I agree. Just that talent in general. I mean, I have been questioning Steve Pikiell's ability to coach offense. Obviously, that is a concern that I have. I think I've made that clear on this show before. So, but I still think like two players like that, they have to be able to create their own offense a little bit. And granted, they are freshmen, but still, like you said, these are going to be two top 5, possibly top 5, probably top 10 at the very least picks in the NBA draft next year. Dylan, he's with us here, Kent. He's very upset.
Oh, dude, I
Isn't
just
wearing a
noticed I'm
backwards
logged
hat.
into your account still from when I hosted. Did you notice that just now? Sorry about that.
Oh my gosh, you are.
That was supposed to be me from my account. Sorry about that.
You're fine. That's all good. This is this is Kent impostering as me right now.
I'm impostering, yeah.
I love it. DK says he always makes us look bad. I heard that Russ was the only one that was willing to be on your podcast though last night, Dylan. So you have to at least thank Russ that he was willing to podcast. So here we go. Russ is watching. Dylan, it's all up in the comments, but
This is facts. Dylan needs to get on the game right now and finish the game. We're all waiting on him to advance to week 2, by the way. I finished my game the first day. And and that was on Saturday. I think it was Saturday I finished it, or Friday maybe even.
Yeah.
So I've been waiting since last Friday to advance to my second game in this dynasty. So
we'll just have
although I did make them wait at the beginning, I will say I was kind of late at the beginning.
He says he also beat you in college football 25.
Yeah, he was using Oregon and Russ had Purdue. So I think if I was watching correctly last night.
Yeah, I think Oregon to beat Purdue in a lot of cases. Yeah, so my teams that are too low, I still, I feel like Wisconsin could be a spot or two higher. I think Wisconsin's going to do better than Iowa this year. They still have Max Klesmit. John Blackwell is coming back. So Stephen Crowell is there still. I mean, you have your freshman sensation last year coming back. You have Max Klesmit. If Max Klesmit can find his game for the entire season that he had last year when things were going well, I think Wisconsin is definitely more middle of the pack than 12th in my opinion. But that's going to be a little interesting there. And then I was surprised you didn't mention him, Kent. Chris Collins in the Northwestern Wildcats at number 13. I mean, that, what Chris Collins has been able to do. I know no Boo Buie this year, but still, I mean, we have to give Chris Collins a lot of credit for what he's been able to do the past few years. So I don't know. Are you with me on either of those, or do you think I am being a little insane?
I'm not with you on Wisconsin, unfortunately. I'm kind of off them this year. But I will agree that, the thing about the Northwestern stuff for me, this cross is just so heavy to bear every single week for me to carry Northwestern's fan base on my back. And, sometimes I just have to drop it. And I think I just dropped it this time. And I was like, I can't do it. I can't fight this fight against Jon Rothstein for my Northwestern Wildcats this week. And maybe next week I'll be back on it. But yeah, they're too low. I think Wisconsin, you're right, maybe up a spot or two, but I wasn't like upset when I saw Wisconsin down there.
Well, now I just don't know what to think because I'm looking here at Jon Rothstein's prediction, and the projected 5 starters include Stephen Crowell, but then in the key losses he also has Stephen Crowell. So I thought Stephen Crowell was coming back, but
there was a few mistakes on the key, and if you read the whole article like I did, because I'm a nerd, he put everybody that left as a key loss. It wasn't like, okay. And he also, if you're still on Wisconsin right now, I believe somebody said that he forgot to put AJ Storr as a key loss. I don't think he's on there.
He's updated now, so maybe he updated it. But yeah, he did not update Stephen Crowell. So I don't know what's going on there with that. But you would think an editor would figure that out. But yeah, very interesting there. Okay. Yes, Philip, we talked about Illinois. Illinois, way too low. I agree. I think Illinois is at least top 5, top 6, maybe even if you're low on them. I think that they brought in some really good pieces, and Brad Underwood has a history of fitting those pieces together. Like I said to Ryan when we had him on, my concern is not talent with Illinois, it's culture. When Brad Underwood brings in an entirely new team, you can have culture issues, and he had that one time. But the talent is there. I mean, this is going to be a talented team. So top 5, top 6, even if you're low on them. Far from me to tell Jon Rothstein what to do, but I don't understand 8th. I don't know what he's seeing there. All right, Kent. So who is too high? Let's make some fan bases mad when they watch this. Who are some teams that are too high?
Well, I'll start with your fan base just because of what I said.
How did I know you'd start at the 4th spot?
Well, no, I say that. I only say that because I think that Illinois should be there. It's not like I think that Ohio State should be way lower. It's just because by default, like Ohio State shouldn't be in the top 4 just because of the teams that I think are the top 4 right now. So I would bump them down just a little bit. I'll make a fan base that I love really mad right now. I'm dropping Nebraska even lower. I think they're at 14 right now. I might drop them down to 16, 17.
You think
maybe
below Penn State?
I don't know. That's the problem is like, okay, here's what I'll do. I'm going to bring Minnesota up to 15, and then it'll be Penn State and Washington at 16, 17. Or however that works. I'll bring Minnesota to 14. I'm going to basically swap that out.
So just swap Minnesota. And
Nebraska if you're looking at the graphic right now on YouTube, I'm going to take Minnesota, put them in Nebraska spot, and then also flip-flop Nebraska and USC. So that way it goes, the bottom 3 are going to be Nebraska, then Penn State and Washington.
I mean,
I'm just so off Nebraska. Like I even like seeing them up that high. I was like, ooh. I don't know. And then I guess the third team I would mention would be, like you already said, Iowa. I might drop them down a couple spots too. I'm not really high on them.
Yeah.
I think on Twitter, a lot of people were, the claim was, and I don't know where I'm at with this team yet, so I can't make an assertion, but a lot of people think Maryland was too high. What do you think about Maryland?
I mean, Kevin Willard is awful. So
yeah, well, so do we.
I can't put Maryland above Illinois. As long as Kevin Willard is the coach at Maryland, I cannot put Maryland at Illinois. I mean, now if he does something this year that's like spectacular, okay, maybe next year I'll think about it. But yeah, Kevin Willard is bad. He's gone on a nice little recruiting, tear here lately and done a good job that way. But I don't believe in him as an in-game coach, and I think he could royally screw up with Derek Queen this year, and we could find Derek Queen in the transfer portal.
Yeah, that's possible. I think overall, though, with John's, if I could just defend him a little bit, and I don't know John, obviously.
You guys aren't best friends? He doesn't come over.
Well, maybe I do, and maybe I'm just saying that right now, that I don't know him. Maybe we actually are really good friends. If I could defend him just a little bit, though, anytime that people put out rankings, it gets picked apart by people like us because it's fun to talk about, but also by, every commenter on the internet wants to claim something about their team that may or may not be true. With John's predictions and his power rankings, if you will, that he put out, I didn't hear a lot of gripes about his top 3. And that's
his top 3 is solid.
Yeah. And to me, that's like a very important part of it. And that's why I think the only thing that I would really have to get out of bed and argue for is Illinois, because I think that's the only one that's a big miss, because I think they are in that top conversation. But everything else, you start looking at the bottom, it's like, is Nebraska really going to be mad that they're at 14? Like, are they going to be like, we should be at 12? This is ridiculous. It's like, when you're talking about the bottom part of somebody's power rankings and you don't have anything bad to say about the top, I think that person did an okay job. So I'm not super mad about it overall.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the Big Ten for you, right? Normally the Big Ten has 1 or 2 teams at the top that have separated themselves. Last few years, it's been Purdue. Illinois last year as well. Northwestern 2 years ago. They were 1 win away from being 9th instead of 2nd, so never mind. But yeah, I mean, normally the Big Ten has 1 or 2 teams at the top that have separated themselves, and then the middle is just kind of like a mosh pit where anybody could go anywhere, depending on the win or the loss. And then the last 2-3 teams are pretty well out of it. So, I mean, that's just kind of how the Big Ten operates, I could see it being one of those years where, the top 3 has kind of cemented themselves. If this was like a prediction at the end of the year, I could see Ohio State being 4th just because
Yeah.
Ohio State might go on a weird kind of run where they get the right wins and, through some tiebreakers, they get up there the 4th. But at the end of the day, like, do I enter the season saying Ohio State is the 4th best team in the Big Ten? No. They have really good size. I think they have really good potential players, but a lot of these players on their team have not proven themselves to be a part of a top 4 starting lineup roster in the Big Ten. In my mind, they're gonna have to prove it this year, and maybe Jon Rothstein's going out on a limb and saying they are gonna prove it. But for me, they haven't proved it yet. And so, if I'm ranking Ohio State, I'm putting Ohio State right next to Michigan. Those 2 teams for me are the same right now, and just see which one goes. So probably 9th and 8th is where I would put. I think Michigan's rated okay, but I just don't see how Ohio State isn't down there with them.
Yeah. Should we redo this? Should we do it ourselves real quick? You want to do it ourselves?
We could. Sean says UCLA and Oregon getting too much love at the top from Johnny Boy. I don't think UCLA. I think that Mick Cronin has a good team in here this year. What you think UCLA at 3 is okay too, right, Kent?
Oh, I love UCLA. Yeah, I'm real happy with them at 3. Yes.
But Oregon, Oregon. That's a weird pick at 5. Yeah, Oregon, Sean. They've also Mick Cronin also brought in like Kobe Johnson and a few other good players. So, I think this is going to be a portal changing team. But they also bring some players back.
Yeah, I have some thoughts about UCLA that we're going to talk about in a segment coming up. So stay tuned. I will talk more about UCLA here in a few minutes. But Oregon and Maryland are 2 teams that like I haven't really done as much research as I have on the other teams. I know that Oregon has a lottery pick type player on their team. I can't recall his name at the moment. And then Maryland, I just need to figure out who's all going to be playing for them this year and make a better assertion on them. But I think a lot of people are higher on Oregon than, the traditional fan bases from the Big Ten would realize that they're going to be a little bit better than just some team from the West Coast that's coming in. They're going to be pretty good.
I will say they do have a Jon Rothstein, their starting center. His name is Supreme Cook, so that's a pretty awesome name. So
he's going to cook for sure.
Yeah, by name alone, he's going to cook. So
top for sure. 5. I got to find that guy's name that I was talking about.
Top 5 actually seems perfect now. Okay, all right. If we're going to do this then, Kent, let's do this. So Purdue and Indiana, we agree those are 1 and 2, right?
Yeah, I would switch Indiana to the top, though, just to make Purdue fans mad. But we can keep it like that. That's fine. I would. No, you know what? No, switch Indiana to number 1 because Russ isn't here. That's why. That's the reason why right now.
Okay, yeah. When Russ gets here, Purdue can be number 1. But for now, Indiana's number 1 till he gets here. UCLA at 3. I think we can keep that. What'd you say? Illinois at 4 for you?
Illinois at 4.
I can agree with that. Michigan State at 5.
Oh man, Rutgers
at 5. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I gotta write this down. I'm gonna forget here in a minute. So.
If only we were recording this so you could go back and watch it later.
I know.
Or you're going to forget what teams we picked.
I'm going to forget what teams we put in certain places.
Gotcha.
I was just thinking, is there a way I can do this someplace else? No, there's not. All right, Illinois. What do we say? Rutgers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who would you have 6th then? Michigan State? Oregon?
Yeah, let's go Oregon and then Michigan State. 6, 7. So that way Michigan State stays right where they're at.
Interesting comment here from Sonny. I had a UCLA guy on my show last night, and he said anything less than a Final Four would be a disappointment. I think that is that's a really ambitious goal.
I think if I was a UCLA fan, I would feel the same way. I think their team is very good this year. People that say that,
I don't know, but you had such an awful year last year. Like,
it's a completely different team, though.
Yeah.
Completely different.
All right. Okay, we got to get through these rankings. Okay,
so
Rutgers,
let's do it real quick.
Who'd you say after Rutgers?
I said Oregon and then Michigan State.
Okay.
And that puts Ohio State in the 8th spot, like you said.
And then Michigan?
Michigan.
They're almost like tied for 8th in my mind.
Right. And then we go, I think we go, we're at 10 now.
Yeah,
I really want to put Northwestern at 10.
that's fine. I was going to actually suggest them or Wisconsin.
All right, so
All right.
Northwestern, then
I think
Wisconsin
I think
at
we do
11.
Wisconsin and then Maryland. Like Maryland at 12.
Okay,
right?
yeah, that's perfect. And then, like I said, I would put USC in front of Minnesota, and then what do we say? Nebraska.
Let's go from the bottom now. So Nebraska's 18th.
No. Washington's 18, and then Penn State's 17,
Oh, okay.
and then Nebraska's 16. Yeah, this is great. We got this.
Okay, so Washington 18. Penn
Yep.
State 17.
Yep.
Then Nebraska 16.
Nebraska 16.
Okay, so for 13, 14, 15, we have some combination of USC, Minnesota, and Iowa.
Let's go. I think USC at the top of whatever you just said it was, 13.
Yeah, I think Musselman is a good enough coach to do that.
And then I would say Iowa and then Minnesota. That seems fun. That seems good. I like that.
Somebody's going to take this now and put it on their show and
That felt
tear
really
us
good.
apart. All right, so just to recap, Indiana number 1 until Russ gets here. Then Purdue can be number 1. Purdue number 2, number 3, UCLA, number 4, Illinois, number 5, Rutgers, number 6, Oregon, number 7, Michigan State, number 8, Ohio State. Tied for number 8 is Michigan. Number 10, Northwestern, number 11, Wisconsin, number 12, Maryland, number 13, USC, number 14, Iowa, number 15, Minnesota, number 16, Nebraska, number 17, Penn State, number 18, Washington.
That felt great. That sounded like that's what's going to happen next year. I feel
we
like
should mail this to Jon Rothstein and tell him to change his rankings.
I'll DM it to him. I'll be like, "Hey, we fixed your rankings on the show tonight."
Yeah, just DM the whole episode. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, device not connected. All right. Once. Hey, look at that. Sean says solid. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Appreciate that, Sean.
Russ is here, but his device is not connected. All right. While we wait for Russ, I'll read off John's preseason All Big Ten team. All Big Ten team: Braden Smith, Purdue; Bruce Thornton, Ohio State; Peyton Sanford, Iowa; Brooks Barnheiser, our man Brooks, Northwestern;
Brooksy.
and Umar Ballo, Indiana. There's Russ. What's up, Russ?
What's up, fellas?
All right. I'll go ahead and pencil Purdue in for number 1 now that Russ is here.
Russ, we just got done fixing Jon Rothstein's preseason power rankings, and we started right at the top with the fixing.
You still have UCLA winning the Big Ten?
No, we
No,
put
we went
Indiana
3.
in front of Purdue because you weren't here. Wait, you had to have been watching, right?
But now that you're
yeah.
here, we,
Oh, yeah.
we put Purdue number 1. So.
Oh, yeah.
Russ, this would be my one question for you, and then we'll move on. Big Ten preseason player of the year, Braden Smith. That's what Jon Rothstein has. What do you think about that?
I mean, he is the only returning player from last year's first team. That's all 6 players that were either media or coaches' first team. So I can't disagree with him just on that basis alone. I won't get into too big of a homer pick there. But, yeah, I agree.
What do you say
Solid-
to the people
reason.
that are claiming he's not going to be as good without Edie, though, because he's not going to have someone to just dump it down to in the post?
Watch. Just watch. That's what I say. So I say watch.
Watch out.
Because he had Edie 2 years ago, and he wasn't first team All Big Ten. So obviously the voters saw something. So whatever they saw, tune in and watch.
His passing was so on point last year. It wasn't just Edie. It was such spectacular passing.
I think I should get a vote for all Big Ten this year. Don't you guys think?
All Big Ten media. Yeah, casual Big
Yeah.
Ten. We'll make an All Big Ten media list here soon. So, Philip says Jack McCaffrey, youngest son of Fran, committed to Butler. I think we knew he wasn't going there, though. Somebody said that at one point. We knew that he didn't really want to follow Fran. But that's rough. Patrick and Jack both leaving.
He's playing
That's tough.
for Ohio State's old coach, right?
Yeah, Thad Matta.
Yeah, Thad.
Love that. All right, let's get to the next thing. Otherwise, we're not going to ever get out of here. So, all right, the Big Ten tournament future locations. Kent, you're very interested in this because these are your future locations where you'll be going. I'm interested to hear if you'll be there in 2028 or not. In 2025, they will be in Indianapolis, Gainbridge Fieldhouse. If the name doesn't change again, which who knows, it could. It changes like every few years. Number 2026 is United Center in Chicago, back to Indianapolis in 2027, and then in 2028, T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. Kent, what do you think about these spots for the Big Ten basketball tournament, men's basketball tournament?
Very, very excited that, well, first of all, I'm excited that it's finalized. As someone who likes to plan things way ahead of time, I like that I have the next 4 years of mid-March planned for me already and where I will be. So that was exciting just to actually find out where it's actually going to be. I have never been to Gainbridge. I will be there next year. It will be an awesome experience. I'll be there for the whole thing, just like I was this year, just like I was last year. Very excited to go there. I already started looking at Airbnbs today. As soon as the news came out, we started planning, me and my two buddies that go every year, we started planning where we're going to stay. And very excited about Indianapolis next year. The following year, I'm not as excited because I've already been to the United Center. It kind of goes into what my answer to, like, do I like this moving around type thing every year? I do, but when it goes back to the same city again, it's like the reason I like going to different cities is so I get to go visit those cities. So I've already been to Chicago. Everyone's been to Chicago, but I've already seen the United Center for 5 days.
I've actually never been to Chicago.
Oh, really? Wow.
I live 3 hours from Chicago, and I've never been there.
Well, you can come with me in 2026 if you'd like to. I'll be there.
Right.
The United
Center
Center is
in the
not great,
Airbnb.
though. Like, it's not my favorite venue. Like, I had fun because it was Big Ten basketball, but it wasn't like the best venue. Like last year, even, in Minnesota, I thought it was better, but I'll digress. Going back to Indianapolis again, it's like, okay, I just went there 2 years ago, but obviously, the highlight of this is 2028. I'll be in Vegas 100%. I will be there. I cannot wait. I'm so glad that it's going to Las Vegas. It's going to be an absolute film when I get out there. It's going to be great. I cannot wait. Fantastic news today. I'm super
Sean
excited about it.
says Indy is more walkable. Can you confirm than Chicago?
I've never been to, I actually have never been to a game in Indy.
What? I thought you went to, didn't they have it 2 years ago? Or was it in Chicago 2 years ago?
2 years ago was Chicago, and then this year was Minnesota.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Indy is super walkable. Indy, I would argue, is one of the best venues for like large events like this. They have the convention center, which is just perfect, and then Gainbridge Fieldhouse, Lucas Oil Stadium. I mean, all of them are just perfect for stuff like this.
I've
And
heard
I know
this
I'm
from
Indiana,
multiple people now that they love Indianapolis, so I'm excited for it.
They set up the city very well for a lot of this stuff. So, okay, and then your thoughts on Vegas, and then we'll get to Russ.
My thought, oh yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait. Okay. I'll be there. It's gonna be awesome.
Sweet.
I've been to Vegas before. I've never been to a sporting event there, but yeah, Vegas is obviously a fun time. I actually went to Vegas for the first time for a whatever you call it, whatever everyone else calls it, opening weekend of March Madness, where it's just wall-to-wall games every day from Thursday to Sunday.
Christmas. That's what.
Yeah, basically that's what it was. But it was back before like gambling was super legalized everywhere. You could still gamble online, but it was like, offshore accounts and stuff. So it was very fun to like go up and get tickets for like, all your bets. And that was a great weekend. So can't wait to do that again. I'm still going to go get physical tickets for all my bets when it's out in Las Vegas for sure.
They might not do that anymore now. Have you been there recently? I mean, that might be something that they just got away from with COVID, Like you don't get physical tickets for when you buy season tickets for, any football team, you don't get physical tickets anymore. Like even for the Final Four last year, you had to like order them to send you a physical ticket because they didn't give you physical tickets for even the Final Four. So
jerks.
That's buns.
Sonny says United Center's out west, so an Uber ride to downtown probably. Take notes there, Kent. Sonny,
no, yeah, that's what happened. So, like, I will say their Uber situation was set up nicely, but it's like for this tournament, you're in the building all day. You're not walking out of the United Center and going to get lunch anywhere. It's like in such a weird location, and it's I don't know. Minnesota was better last year. I liked Minnesota a lot. It was very walkable.
Well, and your hotel was like right next to the arena, wasn't it?
Last year it was like a 10-minute walk. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't bad.
Sonny also says Vegas every year, still physical tickets. So that's cool.
Let's go.
All
All the
right,
Sonnies are
Russ.
losers, though. All his physical tickets have been losers.
He's just losing so much money in Vegas. He keeps
Yeah.
going back. All right, what do you think about this, Russ? Gamebridge, United Center, Gamebridge, T-Mobile Arena, the next 4 years.
I mean, I think it's just them appeasing the West teams that joined, right? Like, I know we talked about this a while back when we talked about the schedule and how all the new West teams with Washington, Oregon, USC, and UCLA, their home and homes are with each other so that they don't have to travel as much, right? Like, they joined the Big Ten for a reason, and they talked about this when they put the Big Ten championship game and kept it or said they were keeping it in Lucas Oil for football. So, because they knew they were joining the Big Ten tradition in this conference. So like I get that every 4 or 5 years we maybe have to go out west, but this is a good way to plan it because now 4 years ahead of time or 5 years ahead of time to plan for that trip because I don't know what Big Ten fan bases will travel well to Vegas, but if they know it's gonna be there once every 4 or 5 years, I'm sure you could get them to travel out west, but you can't give them a year in advance to plan for it. So I think that it should be this way. 3 or 4 of them should be in the Midwest and then maybe give them once every 4 or 5 out west. But
well, that was gonna be my next question. Should they get like into a rotation where they go to each city each year? I've only heard good things about Minneapolis last year. I mean, I guess there were some things that I heard that weren't great, but mostly good things about Minneapolis. I've heard nothing but good things about Indianapolis. Chicago seems okay, and then people obviously seem to want some kind of out west game to Vegas. So should the Big Ten figure out some kind of like 2, 3, 4, 5? Location rotation. I didn't mean to rhyme it there. Between these areas, I don't know. What do you think, Ken? As somebody who goes every year, what would you prefer?
I would prefer it was in a different city every single time, just so that I could, visit more places. Because this is something that, I don't travel a ton. This is something that is like a hard. I'm definitely doing this every year with me and my family. So like, I would like to go see New City every year. Like I said, I'm kind of bummed that it's already going back to Chicago so quickly. When it was just there 2 years ago, it's like, all right, we've already done this. But, I do think, though, if you looked at the press release today, I think that they're teasing the fact that it's going to be in different cities. I don't think that it's going to be a set like we're doing these 4 cities and it's going to be a rotation because in 2028, they're going to have the women's tournament in Detroit, which is a city that it's never been for the men. So I think that that's kind of
They
even,
need to go to Detroit.
How like Vegas is kind of a test for like the out west market. Like what's going to happen when we actually take this tournament out west. I think Detroit's similar in that they're testing it out with the women's tournament. Like what's it going to look like in Detroit? So I think that some East Coast cities will start, throwing their names in the hat. Like maybe we should have it as well. And I wouldn't mind that at all. Like New York, I think has hosted before in the past or, maybe Pittsburgh. That'd be cool. Something like that would be kind of fun.
I mean,
Nashville would be awesome because I live here, so I wouldn't have to, get a place to stay or anything. That'd be fun. I know there's no teams down here.
New.
There's no teams in Vegas either, though, Russ.
Okay, but that's out in the direction of 4 teams. Like if there's a team and if we added Alabama or Auburn, okay, yeah, let's maybe move.
Yeah,
down
but we have
Nashville
honky tonk down here, though. What about that? What about that?
You got me there. Hey,
okay,
you said something that sounded kind of casual earlier, though. I'm going to call you out on. You said we're going
what
back.
Me?
You said, yeah, I know. You said we're going back to Chicago already. That used to be what it was, right? Chicago and Indy, Chicago, Indy, Chicago, Indy. So that's why I think they did this rotation. And I'd be fine if they did a special site every 4 years, right? Like, so we're doing Indy, Chicago, Indy, and a special site. So then go back to Chicago, Indy, Chicago, do another special site. I think that would be keeping in tradition, but then also getting some new cities in the rotation.
So Vegas is already on here. What would be your like 4 or 5 new cities that you would want to do? I would think you'd probably want to add New York,
Nashville.
Right? Not Nashville. There's nobody. DC, maybe out there with Maryland.
I mean,
I don't know.
What Cleveland? I mean, you got
Cleveland
still between Ohio State, Penn State. We still got kind of Midwest there.
Seattle. Would you want to go out to Seattle?
Yeah, I do. That'd be fun.
I mean,
Denver?
I've been to Seattle. They have
Go-
a
go
nice
to Mile High?
airport out there that goes to a lot of different places. So, like, it wouldn't be hard to get there. Denver, yeah.
Again, Denver, like there's no teams there.
Yeah, but you're heading in the direction of teams.
That's
Nashville,
not a good,
you're just
that's
going
not a good enough
south.
argument for me. I'm sorry.
Like if we're gonna go
Whatever.
Nashville, let's just have it in like Tallahassee, Kent. I mean, if we're just gonna like
Okay, draw a line from LA to
Atlanta.
Piscataway. You're not telling me that Nashville's in between there?
That's where we need to have
Let's
it,
do Jerry
Piscataway.
World. Let's have it at the Cowboys Stadium. Let's just make
Nashville's
have two
actually a
courts
pretty
at
good
once.
middle spot.
Let's
And
have
it's
two courts
actually,
at once
by the
going.
way, this is a very good tourist town. So like I'm gonna start the campaign. And we're
No,
getting a new
Kent.
football stadium, so maybe we could play it in there.
No, Kent. We do not want drunk girls' bachelorette parties
We don't?
around the Big Ten tournament.
Are we sure we don't want that?
You sure about that?
Philip says 3 out of 5 in the Midwest, 1 out of 5 in the West, 1 out of 5 in the East. So
I love
if we
that.
did that.
Philip is I love Philip, man. He's always
Philip's
got the right
fantastic.
comments. That's so smart,
Philip's
Philip.
fantastic. 3 out of the 5 in the Midwest, we'd go what? Chicago, Indianapolis, Detroit, Cleveland, Minneapolis, something like that.
Yeah,
Some of those
well,
three?
there's always going to be at least one in Chicago because
Yeah.
it's
And
headquartered
then
there. But
either Vegas or Seattle out west, and then
LA?
Yeah, Staples
LA.
Center. You literally have two teams that could drive there. So yeah.
Yeah. And then out east, any other thoughts other than DC and New York for out east?
I
guess
don't know
Pittsburgh
why, but I think Pittsburgh is a cool
or
spot. Like,
Philadelphia,
it's-
one of those two.
Yeah. Where the 76ers play. Yeah.
yeah, Philadelphia, that'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
even better than Pittsburgh, actually.
All right. Well, we just solved all the Big Ten's problems, so they can watch this episode and they'll know exactly what to do. So, all right, let's move on to Mick Cronin. Kent, I know you have a lot of thoughts here. We haven't given Russ a chance to start though, so we're going to give him a chance to start on this one. Mick Cronin talking about the struggles they had last year. He said our NIL program wasn't what it needed to be. There's no crying over spilled milk. It's a waste of time talking about it. But it wasn't a reality for us to be competitive in the portal, so we ended up with a lot of freshmen. But now it is. Of course, now they are announcing that the rules are changing again. All right, Russ, so I have a question here, okay? He says NIL was a problem. It wasn't where it needed to be. And so he says they couldn't be competitive in the portal, so they ended up with a lot of freshmen. Does this mean, like, how was he able to get good freshmen, but he wasn't able to get good players in the portal? Does this mean if you don't have NIL, you can recruit, but you can't go to the portal? What are your thoughts here, Russ?
It's just excuses. I heard, let me cry about spilt milk, but don't cry about spilt milk. Let me cry about spilt milk a little bit more. That's what I heard. I mean, this has been around for 4 or 5 years now, right? The portal, NIL, we all knew it was coming. Literally, they won the Pac-12 2 years ago, but then all of a sudden they get fifth, and now he's got a problem with NIL. And that sounds like the lamest.
Well, his
soundbite
fans got
I've ever heard.
spoiled, Russ. They weren't given anymore because they just expected it.
Yeah, they went from a team that could build a championship winning team to, oh, we can't compete in 1 year. Like, I mean, give me a break. I really would be. I almost want to make a bet with Kent that UCLA won't finish top 5 in the Big Ten this year.
Wow.
Because I think they're in for an awakening, and they've got they've done the Illinois plan, right? Like they've got all these transfers, except for Underwood's shown he can do it before. So I agree with what you guys said earlier on. Illinois should have been higher on those Rothstein rankings, but UCLA, prove it to me. I mean, yeah, maybe they do catch lightning in a bottle, and they do get their home and homes with all the West Coast teams. So it's kind of like they're playing a half Pac-12, half Big Ten schedule. So maybe he gets a break there, but I just don't see it. I don't see them going from fifth. I mean, they were fifth in the Pac-12 last year. As bad as it was, like it was a disaster year, the Pac-12 was so bad they were still fifth. So I don't buy it.
Well, and the only reason the Pac-12 got 3 teams into the tournament was because Oregon won the tournament. I mean, Oregon wasn't going to get it in if they didn't win the Pac-12 tournament.
And they beat
It was
Colorado,
3, right?
They beat Colorado. To
Colorado.
do that. So it's like, come on.
Yeah.
What did Mick Cronin do to you, Russ? He seems like
well-
the type of guy you would like.
So here's the thing. I went to the game when Cincinnati played Purdue in the Center in the NCAA tournament, and still got some sour taste in my mouth from that game. So yeah, that's probably
Ooh.
it.
All right. We'll hear about Russ's trauma more later. Let's check in with Kent. Kent, how's your trauma doing with Mick Cronin? You doing okay?
I'm doing great. I love Mick Cronin. Like
Well,
he's
are
We
you
know.
buying the excuse
We know.
though? Are you buying this, or are you like, oh no, I get it, brother, you're good, Mick Cronin. But what do you think?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I went back and actually listened to the episode because I didn't want to take his like quotes out of context. And to me, I don't have any animosity towards him. So like I kind of just took it at face value the way he was saying it. He seems like I like Mick Cronin. He seems like a stand-up guy. He seems no nonsense. He answered the question in a way where he was like, listen, everyone's aware that we struggled last year. Sure, did it have something to do with NIL? But I'm not here to talk about that. We got NIL. He admitted on the show, he said, we got NIL this year. We put a really good team together for this year. He said last year we didn't have it. We didn't have a great team. This year we have it. We put together a good team. Straight to the point. And again, to me, like this is why I love him, is because it's some of the stuff I've heard you argue about for Painter before, Russ. It's like we ask these guys these personal questions, and then when they give us an answer, we want to complain that they gave us a realistic answer. Like, I'm not doing that. He was real. He said we didn't have the money last year. Now we do. We got a good team. We're about to come beat your ass. Excuse my French.
It's not that it's
That's what he's
unrealistic.
saying.
It's 2 years ago you won the conference and NIL existed. So how did you have the money that year? But everybody just said, "Hey, we're not making our payments this year." Like the whole answer.
You don't
was
think that it's
nonsense.
changed
You say
in the
no
last 2
nonsense, the whole
years?
answer. What's that?
You don't think it's changed in the last 2 years?
And from 1 year to the next, they had everybody that said, "Hey, we're going to pay money," and then they win the conference, and then everybody said, "Okay, we're not paying for that again." Like,
I think so.
if it happened the other way around, I could see if they went off finishing, fifth in the conference, missing the tournament, and people said, "Okay, we're not going to pay again for that crap." I could get that, but you win the conference, you win 30-something games, and everybody said, "Nah, we're not. We're good."
I
But it was
don't
a
know.
really bad conference.
The
2
roster
years
last
ago,
year
too,
wasn't
right?
good. Like, what do you blame it on? Like, do you think it was his fault that all the people left and then all of a sudden magically he's
The
getting
coach's
good players
job is to
again?
build
Like,
the roster. So yes, it's his fault. And he, instead of saying, "Hey, we need to be better," I didn't do my job well. We're going to turn around this year. He goes, "Oh, we didn't have the money," which every coach in America complains about not having the NIL money or dealing with NIL. He and Izzo should get along great, right? Like he and Izzo and Underwood, they'll probably get along great in the Big Ten. So maybe he'll do great. I'm sorry. I'll take everything back.
Does Underwood complain about money?
I mean, he's always making excuses. He was complaining about how Edie's officiated. I mean,
Well, but everybody talks about ED officiating. You can't pin that on one man.
I'll just say that 2 years ago, a player like Coleman
Russ.
Hawkins wasn't transferring to get $1 million from anybody, and now he is. So yeah, I do think it has changed quite a bit in the last 2 years. Yeah,
but UCLA and their pedigree fell behind everybody.
a bit, I would say. Yeah, just in 1 year, like it's not like they're always going to be at the top every single year. It just doesn't work that way. I don't know. Like I said, whatever you want to believe, that's fine. I think that Mick Cronin's a straight shooter, and I think he was telling the truth. So I believe him. I think that he has no reason to lie about this, and I congratulate him on being honest.
Fair.
Well, not everybody can stay at the top unless you're Purdue, right, Russ?
That's right.
Matt Painter has had a few stinker seasons, though. 2019, 2020 wasn't his best. What was the issue that year, Russ? It wasn't NIL.
I think that was just layover from the Virginia game the year before, and the production we lost, and he didn't adapt well enough with that roster. And I believe that was Ivy's freshman year, right?
Yeah, Eric Hunter, Trevion Williams were both sophomores.
Yeah. So
yeah, your senior leader was Jahad Proctor.
Yeah, junior. He was a grad transfer. So
okay, grad transfer. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't think last year was like a hangover for UCLA when they won 31 games the year before that, right?
I mean, I'm just saying that Painter wasn't making excuses for we didn't have the NIL or the scholarships or whatever that 2019-2020 season.
Well, Russ, my next question is probably going to take too long to answer, so we're probably going to have to skip that one unless you guys really want me to ask it about the freshman. You want me to ask it?
I do, because I wrote notes about it, so I'll be quick with it.
Okay. All right. We'll go
And
to you
I
first,
talked about
Kent.
Purdue in the notes, so I definitely want to talk about it real quick.
Okay. All right. I want to keep getting Russ and Kent riled up against each other.
Hey,
So
it's good to be back, guys. I'm glad to be back.
we're glad to have you here, man. So can teams, Mick Cronin here is kind of making an excuse a little bit, is all we had were freshmen. Okay. Can teams win predominantly bringing in freshmen rather than bringing in portal players? There might be a team out there right now that has a really good coach who decided not to bring in any portal players in there. And it's going to be a little bit of a test this year, bringing in predominantly freshmen. Now, he is bringing back some good talent. Obviously, one of the best players in the Big Ten last year he's bringing back. But, bringing in mostly freshmen. And the star freshman of that class is not coming in with them. Star, at least by rankings. Obviously, somebody else could prove to be better. Rankings aren't the end-all, be-all. But, Kid, what do you think of if a team can win with freshmen still, or is the portal imperative for that?
Well, the reason I wanted to answer it is because I brought up the exact same point that you were starting to make, was that of the teams that are at the top of our power rankings that we just mentioned, I think that there's 4 different styles to how you can win. You have Purdue, who has essentially no transfers, and they're relying not real heavily. Obviously, they have some good freshmen coming in, but it's not like they're relying on freshmen only to come in and like win games for them. Rutgers, not a ton. Like, I don't even know. I couldn't name a transfer. I'm sure they got some transfers, but they are relying almost primarily on the 2 freshmen. So that's a different style of playing to win them games. 2 lottery pick freshmen. Okay. Then you have UCLA and Indiana. Both of them have 6 transfers, basically makeover teams that are still going to be very competitive. So they're basically going almost primarily in the transfer portal route. They have some freshmen. They have 3 between them, but the only one that's really expected to contribute at all is Trent Perry at UCLA. And then you have the one team that I think is doing it the way, and I know it sounds like I'm riding them this episode, but I think it's got to be a mix. I think it's got to be some freshmen. I think it's got to be some transfers. And I think the team that's doing that the best this year is Illinois. Once again, 3 freshmen that they are going to have that are going to be productive for them next year: Will Riley, Jacques Uconis, and Morez Johnson. And then they brought in 3 or 4 transfers that are going to at least get playing time at the beginning of the year, but definitely Kylan Boswell and Kerry Booth are going to play throughout the year. So they have a mix of transfers and freshmen that they're going to be relying on. And we're going to find out real quick which way is the best and who's building their team in the best way. So I'm excited about it. I don't know which is the best, though. I just think that for me personally, and I'm not saying that Illinois is doing it the best way out of everyone right now, it's just my preferred style is that you still try to get some really high-level freshmen, and you also can't ignore the transfer portal. That's how I would like to do it.
Russ, what do you think?
Yeah, what was the original question?
Sorry.
The original question was going to, like Mick Cronin is talking about here, they had predominantly freshmen come in and not portal players, and so he's kind of using that as like why they didn't have a good season. So can you still win by bringing in predominantly freshmen rather than bringing portal players in? Purdue's brought in, 5 freshmen now with what's his name moving on?
Catching's going out to BYU now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the answer is, and this is kind of what I go back to with my reaction to the Cronin comments, is whatever helps your team win. That's the way you build it. You can literally the end of the I'm sorry, I'm stumbling on my words here. The end result is what you are judged by, not how you get there. You look at the Final Four this last year, and you had 2 teams that were almost all transfer. UConn was kind of like some freshmen, some homegrown, and maybe majority, like a little bit over majority transfer. And then Purdue was obviously like all homegrown and 1 transfer. So it literally just comes down to what your results are. You can't. I mean, I think if Mick Cronin doesn't finish top 5, he's on the hot seat in the Big Ten this year. He's on that because to make those comments last year and say, hey, we got it going this year. If you fall flat on your face again, it's going to be short lived because you can build a roster very quickly between freshmen, transfers, however you want to do it. And if you don't get the results, you're going to see the door.
Mick Cronin on a hot seat is a pretty hot take, in my opinion, but
I didn't say fired. But they would. I mean,
okay, on the hot seat. Okay.
Sonny said in the comments earlier that UCLA fans feel like if they don't get the Final Four, it's a disappointment this year.
That's true.
if they finish 6th in the Big Ten and they get like a 9 seed and they don't make the Sweet 16, I'd say he's probably in the hot seat.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Well, since we're talking about the hot seat, let's go ahead and move on to it. There was an article put out. Oh, geez, why am I blanking on who the article was by?
There's a lot of Reds.
Sportskita. Kita? Yeah. At sportskita.com, where they said there are 3 Big Ten coaches entering the season on the hot seat. Those 3 Big Ten coaches are Mike Woodson, who is at the top of the Big Ten in a lot of power rankings, including John's. Steve Peichel, who has this 2-star freshman coming in, and then obviously Kevin Willard, who has been doing well when recruiting, but he's never really been able to translate those recruiting wins into season wins, and the fans are obviously frustrated with that. Kent, do you think all 3 of these guys are indeed on the hot seat?
No, I don't think all 3 of them are. I think that I'll start with Willard. Yes, obviously. No one likes him, so yeah, he's on the hot seat. I think that the other 2, though, when you're considering hot seats, you're looking at the fans' pressure and then not meeting expectations, right? So when I look at Peichel, I actually think there is, to me, and this might just be my small little like corner of the internet that I have, but to me, there's no fan pressure from Peichel. They love him at Rutgers, so that's not an issue. To me, it'll be he would have to have an atrocious season, like not make the tournament, finish like lower than like 8th in the conference, I would say, and doing it with and that would be with no injuries to the 2 main guys that he has or Jeremiah Williams, because with those 3 guys I don't foresee that happening at all. Like if they miss the tournament, I would be shocked. So I don't think that Peichel's on the hot seat because I don't think he's going to I don't think the expectations are particularly high at Rutgers to begin with, but even this year with those guys, even if they make the tournament and win a couple games, they'll be fine. And he's not going to get fired. And I also think the fans love him. The third one is the most interesting, though. Like Woodson, like to me, he's got to get past the first weekend this year or he's going to get fired. I think it really boils it down to that. Like missing the tournament for sure. I think he has to go. I think the fan pressure would be too much. I think that that's an expectation that, you know, being a team that most people are picking top 3 in this conference to not make the tournament would be a huge miss for Woodson, so that he would not be living up to expectations. The fans would be super pissed and they would have to get rid of him. And even if he makes the tournament, if he goes out in the first weekend, I think that that's a disappointing season for Indiana. So for him, I would say he has to get past the first weekend and then he's on the hot seat.
Yeah,
or not on the hot
Sweet
seat.
16.
However you want to look at it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have a hard time with Peichel because I do have my criticisms of Peichel as well. And he's only won 20 games once at Rutgers, and that was the year they didn't even make the tournament. They won 11-9 in the conference in 2019, 2020, and they were 20-11, and they didn't make the tournament. Now they made the tournament the next 2 years. Well, I don't know if you guys count it, but they were in the first 4 2 years later. Do you guys count that as making the tournament?
No, I don't.
Yeah, if you're in a playing game, you have to win the playing game to be counted being in the tournament.
That's why I'm so adamant about when people post about Michigan State's streak, because Michigan State made a play-in game against this. I can't remember the team, but I do remember Mick Cronin was coaching, and they beat Michigan State in the play-in game, and then went on to go to the national championship. That's what Mick Cronin did, by the way. But Michigan State didn't get into the tournament in my mind. That's a play-in game.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason they got in I don't know. I guess they could have put them in possibly because that would have been the 11 seed, so they could have possibly put them in. I don't know, but yeah, no, I think you have one questionable NCAA berth, and then you have one NCAA berth altogether, and he kind of saved it here with getting Ace and Bailey and Dylan Harper, but I don't know, like to me, it doesn't seem like he's on the hot seat with Rutgers fans. But if he has another like 14-17, 15-19 season where he's like around 500, doesn't make the tournament, I could definitely see Rutgers fans getting really upset on him. But I also feel like that's when he gets on the hot seat. I don't think he gets fired if that happens. I feel like that's when he's like on the hot seat. Do you agree, Russ?
Yeah, is Rutgers like East Coast Iowa?
That's
because it feels like with Ferentz and
Iowa has a little bit more success.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're like light not as successful Iowa. Like it, their head coaches kind of are who we thought they were. Shiano isn't a world beater. Peichel isn't like having some crazy world beating season, but it seems like the fans don't want him gone. Like they just have some kind of lifetime contract where, they could have a bad season, but they ain't going nowhere. Like I don't. It just seems like they're almost an Iowa version out there in New Jersey. But yeah, I agree. I agree with Ken. I don't think he's necessarily on the hot seat unless he'd have to have all those things that you said, and then Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper both leave for the NBA. Like I don't know if you could get fired after players transfer and declare for the NBA, but like that's where I could see if his roster falls apart on top of all that, he'd be in trouble.
Those guys are for sure leaving for the NBA next year, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like I think that could be a a nail in the coffin for him possibly. But again, like I said, kind of like Iowa, they might just keep him around. Woodson, for some reason, IU, I'm stuck on Iowa now. IU fans have some kind of love affair with Mike Woodson because he played for Bob Knight. So, and IU fans are the best, and JR, you should know this, being local to Southern Indiana, they're the best at rewriting a narrative and rewriting a storyline. Because going into last year, Xavier Johnson was better than Braden Smith. Khalil Ware was going to be a Big Ten Player of the Year candidate. Like, and then they fell flat on their face. And they all of a sudden rewrote the narrative and go, oh, well, they didn't have guard play. And now he's got a good class coming in. So I don't know that Woodson goes anywhere, but for sure, Willard is on the hot seat. 100%.
Well, they weren't that far off with Ware. I'll give him credit. Ware, he was what, second team All Big Ten, third team? I mean, he was really good, and he just didn't have guards. So that was the problem. Xavier Johnson was nowhere what people expected him to be, which I don't know why you ever expected anything out of Xavier Johnson. He literally never gave you anything. That was Mike Woodson's biggest blunder of his career, is he put his faith in Xavier Johnson. You deserve to be screwed over if you put your faith in Xavier Johnson. I don't know why anybody in their right mind would do that. But I don't know. Like when I talk to my family that's IU fans, like they're frustrated with Mike Woodson for sure, with like some of the recruiting and stuff like that. But after they lost out on what's his name, the recruit they lost, Nielsen or something like that, I forget. But they lost out on that recruit, and then he comes back and brings in Bryson Tucker instead. So the thought there is like, oh, well, he can recruit. They brought in Mackenzie Mbako the year before, so their thought is like, oh, he can recruit. He just has to put this together on the court, which, like, I think Woodson can put it together on the court. I just think last year, like, Xavier Johnson, that was such a stupid move. And then your backup plan for Xavier Johnson, your backup plan was Gabe Cupps. What in the world are you doing? Your backup plan was Gabe Cupps. That was not a good backup plan at all. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess Gabe Cupps could have been better, but he wasn't ready for it. So I see why people are kind of looking at, Mike Woodson is maybe on the hot seat a little bit, but at the same time, it's like, I think that's mostly because if he doesn't do well this year, they're going to be really unhappy with him. Agree or disagree, Kit?
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, my dog just farted in the background, so that was not me if it came across the microphone at all. I would admit I take full responsibility for all my flatulence. But yeah, I agree with you. Like if they have a subpar season, like I think that any fans that, like, even the fans that Russ is talking about right now, like I think they'll turn on him real quick if they have a subpar season. Yeah.
I think that was he farted when I was yelling about Gabe Cupps. So I think my yelling about Gabe was,
it was loud though. So I was like, man, if that came across the mic, everyone's gonna think I farted.
That was just
like
you
up there. That's why he's a fan.
That was just you making the noise about what's going to happen to Mike Woodson this season.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that they're going to be good enough to make a second weekend, and that's all he needs to do. And then he gets to keep coaching.
I think he'll have a good season. I don't know about the tournament. We'll see in the tournament what he'll do there. But anyway, all right, last question. Would you guys add anybody to the hot seat? Russ, we'll start with you. Would you add anybody to the hot? I mean, obviously, we're probably not going to go super into buyouts here. I don't know if you guys did that much research. I did not. But Russ, is there anybody that should be added to the hot seat?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm gonna go traditional here, but I think Izzo. I know he's the.
They're not gonna fire Izzo though.
He should be. If you're
asking, it might be like an encouraged, hey, please move on, but they're not gonna fire him.
Oh yeah, it would definitely for sure go down as like they agreed to mutually part ways.
Okay, yeah,
so he wouldn't get officially fired. But like as much as he struggled and should have missed the tournament last year, And he's had the year, like you said recently, Kent, that he didn't really make the tournament. If they don't make the tournament or they're like a 10 seed this year or something, like I think fans are going to go, look, the game's passed you up. We need somebody else.
Kent, who do you got?
Okay, well, I'll start with Izzo, but I wrote down a different type of response for Izzo. I said that he'll put himself on the hot seat. I think that if he has a bad year, he's getting. I mean, I feel like I've been saying this for a couple of years now, but he's reaching the age where he can't stack up bad years and still think that he's him personally has to assess and say, I can't be the right guy to do this anymore. Like somebody else should take over this program that I love so much. I think he would fire himself if he has a bad year. That's how much I think.
Draymond Green. Draymond Green. Put him.
I saw that tweet today. Yeah, that'd be great. I'm putting Greg Gard on the hot seat, 100%. I think that I think, again, this might just be my little carved out corner of the internet, but I think that the fans are kind of like, hey, you got to do something here, man. Like we're expecting more from Wisconsin, and I think he would be on the hot seat.
The hardest part is they just gave him that. Didn't they just give him an extension?
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
Which was
though.
Stupid. I mean, this to me, Greg Gard is what Chris Holtmann was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
The AD gave him an extension. It was stupid. What in the world are you thinking? The fans want him gone, and all the fans are just gonna have to deal with him for the next 2 or 3 years until finally he royally screws up enough that the AD is like, oh, I'm retiring and I'm gonna, get rid of this coach on the way out, so that way the next AD doesn't have to do it. Which turns out to probably be the right decision, because at the end of the day, you had a team that was talented enough to beat the teams of, sorry, Russ, but to beat Purdue and to beat Michigan State. You just didn't have a coach that was there that was good enough to, get that out of them. So, but Jake Diebler did get it out of him. We'll see if he can continue that magic on. I got another name. This is my final name, I think.
I got one too, but you can go first though.
Okay.
I have one more.
We'll see if it's the same one.
Yeah.
Fran McCaffrey.
Yep. 100%.
I think he needs to go.
He hasn't been to the Sweet 16 since before Y2K happened. Can you guys believe that?
But this is the way Iowa operates. Iowa just
I'm shocked that I was
everybody
in the 16 period, but yeah.
Well, yeah. Iowa just lets everybody stick around until they decide to go, which is so stupid. I don't get it either. Like, how can you call yourself a Big Ten team with all the money and you're like, oh, Fran, don't worry, just stick around until you're ready to go. Like, it's a mistake.
I think the problem I have with it, and I love Iowa. I love Iowa fans.
I do
Jeffrey
too. That's
the
why
Greek
I want
is one
them
of my
to do
favorite.
well.
Like Jeffrey the Greek's podcast is like one of my favorite. Eyes on Big Ten. He's a big Iowa fan. I love his show. He's a great guy. So let me get that out of the way. I like Iowa people. The problem I have with it, though, with these coaches, both of them in football and basketball, is that they brag about it. They say, like, we've had these coaches for so long, like we have longevity. Like, I'm so glad that we have some stability in our coaching. Why would you be glad that your team hasn't won an NCAA tournament in God knows when, haven't been to the Sweet 16 since 1999, never like haven't been to a Final Four since I've been alive? Like, you've had some great players. You've had some first-round draft picks. You've had the Murray twins. You've had Tony Perkins. You've had all McCaffrey's kids come through there. You guys you can't win 2 games in the tournament? Give me a break. Like, this, it's insane. Like, you can't brag about your coach and then have that kind of resume. Like, I'm sorry.
They've had Luka Garza, the Murray twins, and they have
Garza.
They've had more. They have had more lottery picks than they've had NCAA tournament wins. Sorry, Russ. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was saying, is he a victim of his own success? Because like we talked about, and I said Rutgers is like Iowa East. Pikel's been there for 8 years, 9 years, and he's never made the Sweet 16. His best finish in the Big Ten is 4th. But I mean, people are acting like he's the greatest thing since sliced bread out there. That we've had coaching stability and blah 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 and all the things you just said. But I was actually shown, hey, we can get talent here. We can have some good success during the regular season. We just can't get the tournament success. So maybe that's why he's on the hot seat, just because he's actually had success, and he's had the talent, he's underperformed.
Looking back at Iowa's history, it actually does kind of make some sense, though. They haven't got out of the second round since the 90s. Okay, regional semifinals in 98, 99. And third round under Fran, 14-15. They got into since 1990, they have gotten out of the second round twice. So, I mean, if you just get used to that, like, then it just becomes okay. And you're like, thank goodness we got out of the third round or out of the second round. This coach did it. He can stick around forever. Like, and I'm probably giving him a little bit too much. He came in 2010, so it's not like he's like Kirk Ferentz where he's been there 20 plus years. But still, like, he's been around for a while. So I don't know. They're not gonna. It's kind of like the same thing with Izzo. They're not gonna fire Fran, but they might encourage him to move on. And I don't know. I just feel like it's bad news when your son transfers and when your son doesn't want to come play for you. Like, I don't know. Maybe there could be some family dynamic stuff there. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but to me, it just looks bad.
I could tell you.
I hope he does stay though, because he's great television.
I was just saying.
yeah.
See, so Izzo will be a conversation, and they'll agree to part ways. Fran, they're gonna like change the locks, send him a text message, move the basketball facilities, and not because you're not facing that man face to face and telling him he's fired. You've seen how he acts on the sideline. Like they're 100% ghosting him if he loses his job.
He's just gonna stare at you until you back down.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
I'm not leaving. Let's go play that GIF. Yeah.
He goes in the locker room, and then the AD like follows him in. He's like, guys, he actually is leaving.
He doesn't have a choice. Oh man. All right. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think there's anybody else that could be on the hot seat. Mike Rhodes might get there next year.
Ben Johnson will be there next year if he has another bad year.
Ben Johnson will be there next year, unfortunately. I like Ben Johnson though.
I do
don't want that
too.
to
I love him.
happen. Chris Collins isn't doing it. Dusty May, Jake Diebler aren't close anytime soon. Dana
Mick Cronin.
Altman, if he gets the, I mean, if Mick Cronin finishes 10th in the Big Ten, yeah, I could see him getting on the hot seat, like you said, Russ. But I don't see him finishing 10th.
Let's make this bet, man. I want to know what you were thinking for this bet.
We'll have to think up something. I don't want to do it on the spot here. It's got to be good. It's got to be good. I'm really surprised.
I'd be
you didn't
willing to
pick
say
UCLA.
I'm almost more like I think a more fun bet. Like the top 5 thing is fine, but I think a more fun bet would be to see who finishes higher between UCLA and Purdue.
Oh, I mean, I'll take that bet any day.
That's how I feel about the top 5 one. That's how confident I am that they're going to be up there.
Wait, you would take a bet that UCLA will finish higher than Purdue can?
I
Hey,
think
we
that
got it
that
on
would
air.
be a closer bet than saying that UCLA is not going to be in the top 5. To me, that's an easy win.
I gotta look at these odds. I hate that the sports book haven't brought out Big Ten basketball odds yet.
It'll be fun next year for sure. I can't wait for this season. It's going to be so fun.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We're gearing up for a very good basketball and football season for the Big Ten. It's gonna be really fun.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for the odds for national championship in basketball, but
You should look up the Big Ten odds.
The Big Ten odds aren't out yet.
To win the conference, I think they're out.
Are they? Let me look that up. This is great dead time right
I'm looking it up. Let's stay on forever while I look it up.
Yeah, see, Ken and I could stay on to a 2-hour episode actually arguing about sports, where Dylan, they'll talk about, who's going to live in a house with them between Big Ten coaches.
now. Okay, Vegas. Insider.
According
Hey,
to
that was a
Vegas
fun
Insider, Vegas Insider, the 2024-25 NCAA men's regular season is scheduled to begin in November, and bettors can place wagers on the 2024-2025 Big Ten regular season title. UCLA plus 450 to win the Big Ten. Purdue plus 600.
No, but somebody's in between them there. Kent, do you agree with that one?
No. I know Michigan State's in between them because we talk about
Because it's all
this a
about
few
money.
weeks ago?
Thank you, JR. Thank you. Because it's all about money. That's not actual percentage odds. That's UCLA has a lot more money. Well, apparently they don't. If you ask Mick Cronin, apparently they don't have money.
No NIL there last year.
But that's just that's like why the Cowboys are always one of the top 3 teams favored to win the Super Bowl. Well, why? Because everyone puts money on the Cowboys because they got one of the biggest fan bases. That doesn't mean they're a top 3 team. Come on now.
Do you think that's why Rutgers is so high?
I don't know if that's the case for UCLA basketball.
You don't think so? You don't think there's plenty of West Coast money that is excited about UCLA going to the Big Ten and they're saying, hey, let's put our money where our mouth is? And
that was the problem. Everybody was betting on UCLA last year instead of donating to the NIL.
All the
That
money's in
was the
Vegas,
problem.
and that's why the tournament's going there because all the
Yeah.
money's there. Got it.
Yeah,
Yep.
there we go. Yep. And they have tickets,
Yep.
physical tickets, so you can bet on them there. Philip says Diebler must have a short leash, being as unproven as he is. I don't think he has a short leash because I do think that the Ohio State fans are just so glad Holtman is gone. And he is from Ohio. So I think that makes his leash a little bit better. But I could be wrong. Ohio State fans are very emotional. So
Russ, that should be the bet. Actually, that should be the bet now that I just thought of it. Sorry, I'm completely disregarding Philip. I'm sorry, Philip. I was thinking about something. We should, whenever we decide to make this bet, we should agree upon whatever the odds are. And then we'll just bet between ourselves a fake, not like really give each other money, but let's just say it was $100. And if UCLA wins, whatever the odds are, you'd have to give me $450 at the end of the year. And if Purdue wins, I have to give you $600. But we could do it lower, like it could be like 10, or we could do it higher if you want to.
no, do it double.
I would say I'll definitely take those odds for sure. Are you kidding me?
So like the agreement would be
as third in line to win the Big Ten. Come on now.
The agreement, but the agreement would be like if anyone else wins it, like we don't owe each other anything. But if UCLA wins,
No, you owe me.
Oh, so now it's no longer who finishes higher in the Big Ten. It's if someone wins it. Like someone has to win the Big Ten.
Yeah, because it would be like placing the bet on your team. Like it would be like betting on it on any app, except you're just betting it with me, and you don't actually have to put the money up unless my team wins.
Okay, we can think about that. I like the bet about who's going to finish higher, just because the odds are Purdue's not going to win this year. Teams don't consistently, especially in the Big Ten, as competitive as it is. Teams don't often just repeat in the Big Ten. So the odds are not in our favor. But I would all but guarantee and put the house on Purdue's going to finish above UCLA, even if Purdue doesn't win the conference.
But like that's the thing. Like I don't think there's that many teams that are going to beat out Purdue to win the conference. UCLA can. I'm not going to pick them to, but they can. I don't think Michigan State can. Indiana can. If Rutgers goes insane, they could, but I'm not going to put money down on that. And that's about it. Illinois could, if Brad Underwood gets everything rolling the right way. But
we say this
you're
every
looking
year,
at two teams there that realistically could. 4 if things happen really good for other teams.
I think we say that every year because we think of them in terms of how talented are the teams on paper. But then we get reminded when the conference season starts that, hey, it's really hard to win on the road in the Big Ten.
But I also just think Matt Painter's a really good coach on the road too. I think that he adjusts well to the games. Like that's another piece of it too. Like some of these coaches I don't trust. I don't trust Tom Izzo anymore. I don't trust Tom Izzo to play the right players. He goes big too often and he gets too stubborn. So I don't trust him. I trust Mick Cronin pretty well with his defense. I do think that, he's a good in-game coach in those ways from what I've seen, but I haven't seen him as much as I have other guys. And then Mike Woodson, I trust the roster this year, but is he going to put together a modern offense? I don't know. And
I agree with you wholeheartedly on Painters, of course. But, he lost at Ohio State to a coach in his first game. So it's like that's how the Big Ten can work. So
we'll Chris Collins loses games all the time, and he's the best coach like we have. That's the craziest part. Like whenever he loses a game, I'm like, man, this Big Ten is crazy.
That's the way to get back to your base there on Northwestern after all the UCLA love. That's good. Good.
I think that's the best place to end the episode tonight. So thanks for wrapping it up for us there, Kit. Hey, do check out the Big Ten Huddle. We are going to be putting out more episodes. We're going to be live every Tuesday and Wednesday night. Football on Tuesdays. Wednesday is basketball. Things will probably change a little bit once we get into the season, but for now, this is our schedule. I'm going to put out an episode every Friday, Saturday, and Monday morning as well. It might just be me. I don't guarantee having somebody else, but I'm going to try to get other people for those episodes as well. And Kent, you should be here from here on out, right? For basketball, no other vacations or anything?
I have one other one, but I should be back that Wednesday to be able to do the show that night still.
Sweet. We appreciate how committed you are, Kent. Kent, where can people find you at?
Casual Big Ten. I am making daily tweets about my love for Mick Cronin and Chris Collins. And I'm tagging Boiler Express in every single one of them.
Excellent.
I'm also about to win the College Huddle Dynasty for year 1, so You guys can come follow my journey as I, grind through the season and get that win for all the fans out there.
Well, if Dylan ever plays.
True.
Russ, where can people find you and the podcast at?
Boiler Express. Search it on YouTube, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You'll find us there. You can look for me on Twitter at @BXP_Russ if you want to come at me personally. But I'm surprised you didn't pick UCLA there, Kent, in the dynasty. Like I'm kind of shocked. You want to talk about how you're going to struggle away with a top 10 team in Michigan, but I'm surprised you didn't pick a UCLA rebuild because you love their basketball team so much.
I told you I picked Michigan because they won last year. That's why I picked them.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You should have picked Rutgers.
That would have been fun. I actually love playing with Rutgers. They're good.
Yeah, Kyle Monungai, go crazy.
Yeah, he's amazing on the game.
Is it true that Quinshon Judkins is just broken in the game?
I played against Ohio State on Heisman today, and I only got to halftime before I had to go. In the lab, people like me, I like to get in the lab and just get better. So I'm playing like the hardest teams I can on the hardest level, so that when I have to play someone like Russ, it's not as difficult for me. But I was winning at halftime 14-10, and he did not score a touchdown. So no, he's not unstoppable. You just got to know what you're doing a little bit.
Yeah.
That was on Heisman too.
Yeah, and the Heisman, they know what they're doing. So
that's right.
Russ, who's the most broken player in the college football game, you think? Who's the one you had the most success with? Not Hudson Card, I know that.
Well, so honestly, I think it's one thing that's broken a little bit is scrambling quarterbacks.
Really?
I don't know if you've experienced that, Ken, but like you get a quarterback a little bit of speed to him. The defenders do not react to a scrambling quarterback the way they should. So if you scramble to the side and you stay in the backfield long enough, you can shoot up the sideline and get 10, 15 yards any day, like any play. So
I've heard Alex Orji is really good to play with how big and physical he is and how fast he is.
It's pretty good.
So,
we're going to find out. Kent's going to show us.
Sounds good.
All right.
Go follow the journey over at Casual Big Ten, the YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We do appreciate it. Thank you to Kent and Russ being here tonight. Russ, tell your wife to get home a little bit earlier next time.
Yeah, don't do that.
We should have cut that.
Do not do that
before you said that. She's wonderful.
Just
she can get home whenever she
kidding.
wants.
Do not do that, Russ. Trust me, brother.
All right, Russ, you can tell your wife to come after me for that one. So.
Hey, and you're close. You forget we're within easy driving distance there, sir, in the same
True.
state.
She come strangle me. So, all right,
we see your
everybody.
window, so, yeah.
Gonna pop up in this window one of these nights. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Boiler up.